I think when you say demonstrate value, it's about communicating value. And there's two ways to do that generally. First is, and again, as a research guy now, I think about qualitative, quantitative, but really it's about stories and it's about data or metrics. On the story side, I think about the ways that other parts of the company communicate to executives or communicate to customers and use those frameworks. So it's not, to me, effective just to brag about how well your program does, but rather tell stories internally, externally, and even if the EBC is not the hero of that story, it's part of it. And it's by showcasing how executives, how their fellow leaders, how other folks at the company have made a difference through working with customers as part of the briefing program. That can be really compelling. And again, I'd look at like what your customer advocacy program does and use the kind of frameworks that they do, because those are things that probably work in your company if folks are already using those sorts of tools. You're just pivoting from talking to customers to talking to your internal customers. The second thing, metrics, data. Folks respond to business results. And of course, by saying this, we go to the old joke that you can't have two briefing folks in the same county and not talk about metrics. But I'll break it down really quickly, the way I think about metrics that make a difference to leaders in the company. The first and easiest one to talk about are activity metrics, what you did. We saw this many customers, we held this many briefings. That's fine. You know, that's an important precursor to results. The second is perception. I mean, we all do our surveys. One of my former colleagues is on the line, and we talked about them quite a bit at our program. But I think rather than just perception of what the customer thinks, to be able to show leaders what kind of change in perception that you created, and not necessarily with one person at 8 a.m. versus 5 p.m., but over time, the difference, and whether you use a net promoter score or a 5-point survey, looking at how, rather than just those raw numbers, look at the change you create, look at the alignment between the perception of internal folks and customers, of the question of when you can show to executives, hey, how did this, was this briefing a good use of your time? And both the customers and your discussion leaders are aligned that it was. That's more powerful than everyone giving it, a thumbs up. And finally, the most important, and we know the hardest thing to do, are results metrics. And that's what everyone's looking for, like what difference did things make? And there's different ways to slice and dice that, most of which require a lot of work with your CRM system and a lot of participation from your account teams. But it's doable, and incorporating those into the stories you tell, I think, shows leaders that the briefing program has an impact, and exactly what kind of impact that is.